This morning, 2 of SU's fraternities are facing disciplinary action and have been forced to suspend activities.
SU continues its remembrance of the bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 that took the lives of 35 SU students.
And Syracuse football takes on Pittsburgh tomorrow night. Will Syracuse come out on top?
Plus your weather and orange sports coming up on this edition of Mornings on the Hill.
Good morning, I'm Zatazia. Thanks for joining us for Mornings on the Hill.
And I'm Max Williams. Here's today's top story.
We turn now to the latest on the Greek life controversy right here on campus. Breaking last night, SCI-U was now facing suspension after what the university called reports on hazing showing degrading behavior.
Yeah, and this comes just a little over a week after Phi Kappa Psi on campus was suspended after an alleged hazing video was leaked on X. Joining us live now is Mornings on the Hill, Mike Lamort. Mike, there has been a lot going on with this, but let's start this morning with, you've been in and around the fraternities this morning. Did you see any sort of investigation going on?
Hey, good morning, Zatazia and Max. Max, to answer your question, yes and no. There were no visual signs of the investigation ongoing. Not a DPS car, SPD car, not even an SU car, no crime scene tape, no visual signs of the investigation, but the university saying they are ongoing surrounding the two controversial fraternities, Phi Kappa Psi and Psi Upsilon, which is the fraternity most recently under fire from reports last night. But to give you a little timeline of what exactly went on, last week, it was Phi Kappa Psi, known as Phi Psi, that kickstarted the controversy. There were multiple alleged hazing videos that were leaked on social media platform X. Those videos, too graphic to show, contained images of pledges throwing up on one another, amongst other unsettling videos. Those videos quickly going viral on the platform, eventually gaining the attention of Chancellor Kent Severud, who condemned the actions that appeared in the video via a statement. The statement saying, quote, "I am disgusted by the actions that appear in these videos and condemn this conduct. Hazing and related actions that place our students at risk is both a serious violation of the university policies and New York state law. The university has since issued an immediate interim suspension that has halted all Phi Kappa Psi activities pending the investigation, as well as the national office as well for the chapter ordered that it cease and desist any activities." Now, it was this investigation that kickstarted many other investigations, with the most recent one surrounding Psi Upsilon. That's the most recent fraternity that is under fire for as well additional hazing reports. We don't exactly know what those hazing reports contained, though we do know that the chief student experience officer, Alan Groves, said in a statement last night that the amount of reports along with the evidence provided to the university was enough for an interim suspension to be placed on the chapter. Now, guys, I will be posting any and all updates surrounding the two fraternities and any others that may pop up in the investigation on social media platform X at Mike Lamort TV. From outside Newhouse, Mike Lamort, NCC News.
Mike Lamort, starting us off this morning, thank you so much. Well, Syracuse University's Remembrance Week, which began on Sunday, the annual event marks the 1988 bombing of Pan Am Flight 103 over Lockerbie, Scotland. This week, the university will have displays across campus in memory of the 270 people killed, 35 of which were Syracuse students.
If you'd like to find information on what events are taking place, you can check Syracuse University's calendar. With less than 2 weeks away from Election Day, students traveled to different parts of Pennsylvania just last week to interview local residents about the upcoming election.
Vinaya Johnson joins us live in studio with some of the students who took part in this project. Hey, Vinaya.
Thank you, guys. Today we're joined by two outstanding journalists, Kira Saranik and Rosie Reposarda, who recently spent time in Butler, Pennsylvania. They interviewed local residents about the election where the first assassination attempt against former President Donald Trump took place. Welcome, ladies. We're so excited to have you.
Thanks for having us.
All right, so we'll go into our first question for Kira. So did the history of Butler as the site of the assassination attempt influence perspectives or attitudes of voters you spoke with?
For sure. I mean, first of all, going there was really great. I think talking to people on the ground, you get sentiments that you wouldn't otherwise get. And I think for me, the big takeaway was that people don't want to be remembered for this incident. I mean, Butler was a It was pretty sweet, very homey, and I think people are just upset that on the headlines this is what they're going to be remembered for. I mean, people were telling me that major news stations have been there ever since. Secondly, a big thing I took away was that the people who visited, they were so caring about President Trump's safety that they weren't at themselves at the moment, like when they were actually at the first rally where the assassination attempt took place. So some major takeaways that was really important for me to understand.
All right, and Rosie, how would you describe the political atmosphere in Butler leading up to the election? And did you experience a preference for one party or another?
So I really thought it was a major swing state. When we first were driving in, we drove through the suburbs, and once you saw a Trump sign in front of someone's house, right across the street was a Harris sign. Even down the store, like the businesses and on like the roads, there's always a Kamala sign right next to a Trump sign. So it was just such a swing county. And but after really speaking to people, I think that they did lean more conservative because we only spoke to about like 3 people that were voting for Kamala out of 11 people we interviewed. Okay. So definitely more conservative.
All right, so well, thank you, ladies. Is there anything else you would like to add before we close out this interview?
I think I'm okay. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I think basically just talking to people, really that sentiment of they don't want to be remembered for it, and I think we kind of have to think about the people behind the incident rather than just the incident itself.
All right, thank you again. And that's all the time we have for today. Thank you again for coming to our show. Zatazia and Max, back to you guys.
Thank you so much, Vinaya. It's the middle of October and warm.
I know, it's crazy. You know, it's so funny because I always complain about like the East Coast and how it's always so cold, but like I love this warm weather. Putting on shorts is just awesome. But Zach Hard has more on us for our weather.
Hey guys, that's right. It's been oddly warm this week, and I've been loving it being from the south myself. But these leaves are changing. It's really the perfect time right now. It's super warm outside, and the leaves, everything looks beautiful. If you can get out for a walk, I would highly encourage you to do so. It looks and feels great. But let's take a look at what we're feeling outside right now. It's closer to 70 degrees than 66, but it does feel like 66. We've got a little bit of wind coming in from the south, so if you're walking to campus up University Avenue, that wind will be in your face a little bit. But coming up in just a little, I have your forecast for the rest of the week as we look into a dip in temperatures or maybe just a return to the norm. Max and Zatazia.
Thanks, Zach. Coming up on Mornings on the Hill, several outbreaks and recalls shaking up a popular fast food chain and possibly your fridge at home.
Yeah, and Zach will be back with your full 5-day forecast. Stay with us.
Welcome back to Mornings on the Hill. The U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has issued a food safety alert that is linked to McDonald's Quarter Pounders after an E. coli outbreak has been reported across 10 states, mainly affecting Colorado and Nebraska.
Yeah, and already one person has already died from the outbreak. McDonald's responding to this saying, quote, "Serving customers safely in every single restaurant each and every day is our top priority." They also said they are continuing to work with the CDC. This all comes after frozen waffles, pre-cooked chicken, and boar's head meat have all been recalled because of the listeria outbreak. Well, a garden on the university's South Campus is helping students fight food insecurity and teaching the importance of community service. Mornings on the Hill reporter Autumn Ryan has the story.
This glowing green garden could not flourish without the help of student volunteers. Every Saturday afternoon, the volunteers are pulling weeds, collecting seeds, and cleaning up the garden. The garden manager, Kayla Areen, says they cannot maintain the garden alone.
Yeah, they're super important. We've done so much work on the edge gardens with them, which is the pollinator garden, which kind of keeps this whole thing going.
The hard work of these volunteers does not go unnoticed. They're allowed to pick some of the fresh fruits and veggies to take home. And of course, they're not the only ones being fed the fresh food in the garden. Everything grown is stored.
We seem to be having some technical difficulties. Please bear with us. It's now time to check our weather for today.
Yeah, Zach is in the studio with a look at your full weather forecast. Zach, please tell me this warm weather is sticking around.
Yeah, I wish I could say so, but it looks like we're going to take a dip in a couple days. As for right now, we're still in that 67 to 70 degrees range with some wind coming in from the south. But let's take a look at what we're going to do tomorrow. Tomorrow, we start the day off at 46 with some light showers possibly in the morning before 11 a.m. So they'll be gone by the time we get to the afternoon with a high of 54 tomorrow. We move into the evening and we'll get into some 40s. And then as we look towards the rest of the week, including the weekend, We're going to be, again, rain tomorrow morning, and then Friday we hit up to 59, and that'll be about the highest that we see all week. Before we hit Saturday, some rain during the afternoons, most likely 60% chance with a high of 54, low of 36. And then Sunday is a very overcast, typical fall in Syracuse with 48 degrees, overcast. And then Monday, the sun comes out again, but it's going to be only 57 degrees. So we're not going to get back up to the warmth that we felt this past week in the 70s, but maybe it'll still feel good and the wind won't be too bad out there. The fall season is still here, guys.
Zach, thank you. I'll have to put my pants back on. All right. Well, coming up on Mornings on the Hill, the World Series starts on Friday. Nico will give us a full breakdown and everything you need to know before the series starts.
Plus, the NBA is back. All of your sports content coming up.
Good morning. I'm Nico Horning here in sports on Mornings on the Hill. The Dodgers and Yankees square off in the World Series for the 12th time in history on Friday. New York has won 8 of those series, and there's a multitude of storylines this year centered around Major League Baseball's biggest stars. The expected AL MVP Aaron Judge and NL MVP Shohei Ohtani play against each other. Each slugger belted 50 home runs in the regular season, and they're credited for the 2 biggest free agent deals in MLB history. This series really is shaping up to be the best of the best. The 2 most popular teams, the best players, the 2 most populated cities in the United States, and the top seeds from each league make it all the way. The list goes on and on. All right, so now that the scene is set, let's dive into exactly what has changed in the last 43 years since the iconic franchises last played each other. As far as the ticket prices go, they have astronomically shot up. In 1981, it was roughly $5 to sit in the bleachers, and the cheapest ticket for any game of this year's World Series is more than $1,000, and that's to sit way up top. If you want to sit down low behind home plate, you're looking at more than $10,000. But that's not the only change. In 1981, Ronald Reagan became the 40th president of the United States. USC running back Marcus Allen won the Heisman. And look at some of these everyday prices of items back in the United States several years ago. Milk was $1.83 for a gallon. Gas was $1.35. A new Ford F-150 was $6,000, and the average home cost on the West Coast was under $80,000. Boy, I wish a lot of those prices were as cheap now as they were back then. The Dodgers took the 1981 World Series from the Yankees in 6 games. Fast forward to 2024, the Stars are lining up for this World Series to be one to remember. Game 1, Friday night, just after 8 o'clock. While the baseball season comes to an end, football season is in full swing, and Syracuse has strived through 6 weeks. However, a new challenger stands in front of the Orange, and in studio to break down a third-ranked foe for SU is Nathaniel Cunningham.
Nico, thank you so much. Syracuse football hits the road for its final leg of its 3-game roadstead tomorrow against 19th-ranked Pittsburgh, and it's set to be a good one. If you've been following Syracuse football, I don't need to express how good SU's offense is, and that guy right there is back. Kyle McCord has led the Orange to a 5-1 record and a top 15 offense in the nation. The QB either leads the ACC or is top 5 in almost every single offensive category, and that's why he's been linked to the Heisman Trophy halfway through 2024. Syracuse's receiving corps has really put its name on the map as well. SU is the only school in FBS football that has 3 different receivers averaging over 70 yards per game. LaQuinn Allen also has over a third of his all-purpose yards in the receiving game. But this isn't just a one-sided game. The Orange have its toughest offensive test this Thursday. You may not know who this guy is right here, but you really should, because it's true freshman Eli Holstein, who's been pretty much identical to McCord. In all those same stats that make McCord a Heisman candidate, Holstein is just as good, if not better. From total offense to completions, passing yards to touchdowns, the QBs are nearly identical. Oh, and Holstein is the first QB to win his first 6 starts with the program since NFL legend Dan Marino. The Panthers also have an undefeated 6-0 record for the first time since 1982 with its own top 15 offense. If you want to keep going, you can add on the fact Syracuse hasn't beaten Pittsburgh in Acrisure Stadium since 2001, and the Orange haven't had multiple ranked wins since 1992. So while Syracuse may have the experience in the game of football, all points are favored towards the Panthers, which is why they're 5.5-point favorites just under 40 hours to kick off. Syracuse football may be on the road for their next 3 games, but the JMA Wireless Dome will still be filling up this weekend with the same fans. This time, it's with a court in hoops. Geraldine Paulia has more on men's basketball's media day in their upcoming season.
Daniel, the basketball season is finally here. This Sunday, the men's team will have their first exhibition game against Clarin in the JMA Wireless Dome. The team held its annual media day on Friday, October 18th. With a deep roster, the Orange are gearing up for another exciting season under head coach Adrian Autry. He led the team to a solid 20-12 record in his first year. The season sees returning players and new key transfers, guard Jaquan Carlos, who averaged over 10 points and 6 assists at Hofstra, and forward Jair Davis, who scored 17 points per game at Delaware. Also joining the team is center Eddie Lampkin from Colorado, who brings a strong presence in the paint for the Orange with 10 points and 7 rebounds per game, along with swingman Lucas Tyler, who averaged 14.5 points at Georgia. Head coach Autry knows this season brings the new teams and more competition to the ACC.
This conference is no joke, you know, and I think the narrative will change this year. But the short answer is you got to win games, and you got to win the right games, and you got to win enough games. For winning, you just got to win.
The women's team also looks to start their season soon, but for this Syracuse squad, this weekend hopefully will be a slam dunk. We are just a few days away from game one of the college basketball season, but the NBA tip-off happened last night. I'm joined with Nico Horing and Nathaniel Cunningham. Guys, we had a banner reveal and a father-son duo. What were your initial thoughts?
I mean, this is just how you start basketball season. You know, everybody's excited about football, don't get me wrong. It's a heck of a sport. But basketball is where it's at. Basketball is where you get 82 games of full-paced action the whole year long. It's just game one. Not to mention October. I mean, I had the baseball discussion a minute ago, but you have NBA starting, you got the World Series, you got college football. The list goes on and on. But as far as last night goes, I mean, the Celtics, credit to them. They finally got a ring last year. Jason Tatum, you know, that had been the question going on for years was could he pull through in the playoffs? He finally did. And then for Bronny James and LeBron James to play on the same court at the same time, I remember talking a few years ago thinking, would that happen? Would LeBron retire before that would happen? And then last night it finally happened. So just a remarkable night in the NBA.
Definitely. And LeBron and Bronny, actually LeBron said that Bronny is not allowed to call him dad on the court. So that's a funny little tidbit. But for the Celtics, they're definitely a solid team. I mean, nothing's really changed for them.
And something that's really interesting, they were just one three-pointer away from the NBA's three-point record last night. They went 13 consecutive misses in the final 8 minutes of the game. That's how good this team was. If anybody thought they weren't going to go back-to-back, game one tells you it might be a different story.
It's insane. And to add on to the Bronny thing for a minute, there was a commercial that Nike did that came out the other day where LeBron filled Bronny's car with a bunch of cereal, and then Bronny went to go open the door, and all the cereal fell out, and they had LeBron kind of spying on him and seeing his reaction in the background. So just a very interesting thing that happened the other day. So
definitely. Well, we'll be right back with more on still to come here Morning on the Hill. Liam Payne's sudden death is shocking fans around the world. Now they are responding. Stay with us. That story and more just ahead.
Good morning. I'm Alexi Kuslis here with the Morning Juice. Liam Payne's recent death has shocked fans and caused a wave of grief throughout the world. Payne was a former member of the beloved band One Direction and was a well-known artist in the music industry. One Direction singer was abroad in Argentina visiting his former bandmate Niall Horan for his tour when he tragically died. Payne fell off the balcony of his hotel in Buenos Aires. Officials say he was under the influence of alcohol and had numerous drugs in his system shortly before the fall. Payne's death has devastated One Direction fans everywhere. There has been an outpouring of love for the singer and his family. Vigils have also been held around the world with thousands of One Direction fans mourning not only his loss, but a piece of their childhood. Former One Direction members released a statement on Instagram stating, "In time there will be more to say, but for now we will take some time to grieve." The band members shared their individual statements talking about their fond memories and love for Liam Payne. Zayn Malik recently announced he will be postponing the U.S. leg of his tour until January because of Payne's death. Payne's funeral is being held in his home city of Wolverhampton and Liverpool this weekend. Coming up on campus, SNL star Marcelo Hernandez is visiting Syracuse for Latin Heritage Month. Tickets are sold out for this event.
Oh, well, I guess sad news in both cases. SNL star, if you wanted to get in, you can't get in. But also just hearing of Payne's death, I have close personal friends who told me like, I need a day to take some time. And so for me, that just really emphasizes the impact that Payne and One Direction had on our lives and our childhood.
Yeah, it's just so nice to see that everyone is coming out. I was just looking on the computer before this. Music sales have gone up for One Direction, which Liam Payne was a part of. And, you know, fans just grieving in crowds in London. So it's just really nice that everyone's paying tribute. I even saw that Justin Bieber was paying tribute as well. So it's just really nice that everyone's coming together for this tragic incident.
Right, and like you said, although it's a really sad situation, it's really brought a sense of community to, I think, the world and our generation. So I think it's something awful definitely happened, but something good is kind of coming out of it by this family that's being emerged from this tragic story. So were you guys One Direction fans?
I was.
You were.
I did love their song. Tell me, girl, if every time we, like, you know, I sang my heart out to their songs, and, you know, definitely a guilty pleasure of mine. Any favorite songs that you guys have?
I think Night Changes might have to be one of
That's a
my
good
favorites.
one. Yeah,
It's a great one. Singing it in the car, like full volume.
Yes, yes.
It's great.
Just vibes. Yeah, One Direction was really good for the vibes, but I also think one thing that, you know, I don't want to sound like an old head, music today has lost sight of age-appropriate music, and how One Direction, you know, it was music about your crush and, you know, vibing out, but nothing inappropriate, you know, things that I will definitely play for my children.
Yes. Well, that's it for us this Wednesday on Mornings on the Hill. Follow us on social media.
We'll see you next Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Yeah.